Warning, this content is not age restricted but may be frightening to younger people.
You probably don't realise, but Ashbourne is one of the most haunted places in Derbyshire. We have so many cases to investigate today. Let's go find out more stories and see if we can solve any of them. I'm Archie Wright, and this is The Ghosts of Ashbourne.
In the shadows where the whispers dwell, echoes of a tale we know too well. Through the mist and trees so dark, there's a presence here, you can feel its spark, lurking softly like a breath of night, an ethereal figure shrouded in fright. When the moonlight casts its cold embrace, he wanders these halls, you can see his face. Are you a believer or a skeptic? Can you feel the chill? Can you sense the cryptic? The stories unfold.
So, we are at St Oswald's Church. There's so many ghost stories in here, you won't even believe. Let's go see if we can solve any of them, or if maybe they are actually ghosts of me. You can see behind me, there are not really any graves, but the graves that are here are play graves. Now, ghost children are seen among the trees near the graves. A ghost of a lady is seen leaning against this wall crying, and we believe that one of her babies are in these graves here. In 1957, a man had wrote to the Ashbourne Telegraph to say that he had experienced a ghostly apparition at St Oswald's Church. At 11 o'clock at night, he was walking home and he saw a light through the keyhole, and he looked through it and there was a phantom funeral. Later that week, he asked the vicar, who said it was rubbish and sent him away. Was this case ever solved? In the church we have Lady Cocaine's tomb, who haunts the recreation ground, which is the park in Ashbourne, and her footsteps are also heard in St Oswald's Church, and the street, Cockayne Avenue, is named after her last name. And this is Penelope Boothby's tombstone. She's also seen in the Ashbourne Library, where she is seen running around the rooms. This next story we've got to say is actually linked to the last case we dealt with. Now, it is about Lady Cockayne. You see, she's seen walking on the wreck, where over here. And she's seen without her head. Now, this isn't because she had her head cut off or anything. This is because she was smelling the roses when she was alive, and that's what she is doing as a ghost. She's trying to smell the roses that are there. We are now standing outside of the old Ashbourne Hall, where Lady Cockayne actually used to live, and inside there's loads of cold spots. You see, when it was a library years ago, books would move around, and we believe that Lady Cockayne would be moving them. I'm now at Ashbourne Primary, a school here in Ashbourne, Derbyshire. You see, the ghost story to that is very sort of weird, because in the girls' toilets, none of the girls really liked going in there because they claimed they saw a ghost. So they went to the teacher about it, and the teacher said it was a load of rubbish and sent the girls away. And they were like, they didn't believe the girls at all. You see, what happened was, it was when the teacher went in there to see what was going on. Some girls were crying, like they didn't want to come out of the bathroom. So the teacher went in there to see if the girls were okay. And what happened was, she was like, "Come on, girls, no, you don't need to be here being upset." And next minute, the woman walks from one side of the room to the other and goes outside, and that, we believe, is Lady Cockaigne. I'm now outside of a jitty on Cockaigne Avenue, and in the 1930s, a man was walking home to see his girlfriend, and he walked up this jitty, and halfway up the jitty, he saw a woman, and he didn't think of anything of it because you see people in town all the time. But as she got halfway, she's disappeared, and he did some research, and he thought it was Lady Cockaigne. This is the old horse mount, where a ghost of a prostitute woman is actually seen standing here. This is Shakespeare's Yard. It is home to a phantom sound. The sound is of a violin being played, and it is heard by many people here in Ashbourne. Even the manager of the charity shop next door heard this sound when she used to manage Lighthouse. I'm now stood outside Ye Old Vaults in the marketplace. A phantom black dog is seen standing by the fireplace inside of the pub. I'm now walking up to the Clubhouse Barbers, what has a really, really scary ghost story here. And let's go sit down and see what it is. Follow me. I'm now sat in the Barbers, and it used to be a school. You see, years ago, in the 1700s, a girl ran outside and got hit by a cart, and she went under the wheels. You see, this girl haunts this place, and when it was an antique shop, people heard her laughing, and in recent times, people have heard her coming down the staircase, and also, she also like pokes people and prods them, and she's a bit of a nuisance.
Ring around the rosy pocket full of posies.
I'm now at the bridge, and it used to be the workhouse yard. Ghosts of the paupers are seen in this yard.
La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
The workhouse in Ashbourne is where all the poor people were sent who could not look after themselves. I'm now in the Coach and Horses pub, which has been here since 1832. In this corner, a man is seen lighting a clay pipe, and he interacts with nobody. Staff at the Coach and Horses who work here, they hear noises upstairs and doors opening when there's nobody here. I'm now in Dig Street, and it is home to a phantom nun. Many years ago, Ashbourne was home to some nuns who lived at St Monica's house, and one of them used to walk down this alley so they can dip their feet in the River Henmore. I'm now at the statue of Catherine Booth, and she was one of the most famous daughters in Ashbourne. Legend has it that if you walk past this statue 13 times anti-clockwise, then she will appear at that tree over there. In 1965, an Ashbourne man, Sid Warren, tried this, and he saw a woman in a bonnet by that tree. The Green Man pub isn't only haunted in Ashbourne, it is also haunted in all of England. In 1903, a woman was unmarried and found herself pregnant, and in that room she hung herself. She is known as the Crinoline Lady, and she walks the rooms of the Green Man. The former owner of the Green Man was doing his books at 4 o'clock in the morning, and she walked past him and went up the staircase. These are the old stables, and the ghost of a highwayman haunts them, and he doesn't like women. By these steps, a ghost of a pauper child is seen, and he was killed being exposed to begging. For our first case today, we are going to interview a woman called Janet Baker, who experienced a ghost in the Ivies in 2010. So let's go meet her and see what her story is. Let's go.
Thank you.
So, first question, do you believe in ghosts?
I do, yes.
So, I know you've experienced things in there.
Yes.
So, what did you experience?
Well, first of all, it was only small things. It was like plants moving as if the wind had gone through them, and things were being moved. And I don't know, you just got that feeling. It felt cold, and you always thought somebody was down your left side. I did. I got a cold feeling, and then Tim phoned me. He said, "Have you got my spare key? Mine have gone missing." So I had to come up here with the spare key so we could lock up and go to work. And then 2 days later, his keys turned up where they should have been. And then he put his wallet down. His wallet got moved and things like that. And then during the night, he'd get old-fashioned latches on these doors, and they'd rattle in the night as if somebody was up and down. And then the light would come on in the hallway, and the bathroom light would come on. Then he got up one morning, and one of his Shrove type pictures had been lifted off the wall and taken to pieces and lay in a line. So, well, something's got to be done. So I knew a woman that she wasn't a psychic, but she was a, what you might call, sensitive to things like this. And I asked her if she'd come and have a look. So we made arrangements for one Friday night. And she went in every room, and she said, "Well, there's something, but nothing strong in here." And then we went in what I call the tomb room, and it was an arched stone room. It was cold and damp, and it's got the thralls in it where they must have kept the wine and the meat and things in the days when they lived here. And she said, "There's a portal here, it's right in the middle, and that's where it's coming from." So we shut the door and put all the lights off, and she was asking questions. And then the kitchen light came on, and then there was a grey mist at the side of her, and three of us sat down on these stools, and she was asking questions, and things sort of moved and bumped. And she said, "I'm feeling very nauseous." She said, "There's something here." She said, "Right at the side of me." I just said, "Oh, there's a grey mist at the side of you." She said, "Yes, it's making me feel dizzy and nauseous. So someone's with us." So she said, "I wonder if you could explain." She said, "If I explain to you, can you go to somebody else and let them know you're here?" Well, they went to my husband Bernard, and they just rattled his trouser legs. He said, "What's that?" I said, "Well, somebody's pushing your legs." So she says, "Try again." And next thing, I felt something hit my feet, go all the way up, and it came out the top of my head. My hair stood out like this, and I was really, really cold. And I said, "It's just happened to me." And I said, "I feel dizzy and nauseous now." So she said, "I'm going to have to stop." She said, "Because if I don't, I'll faint." She said, "It's that bad." So we put the light on, but the kitchen light was off when we came out. And she said, "I don't know, I've got the name Mary and Elizabeth. I don't know whether it's Mary and Elizabeth or two separate people." But afterwards, Tim was talking to somebody who'd done a bit of research, and he said there was two sisters living here, one called Mary and one called Elizabeth. But after about a couple of weeks or so, after this event had taken place, I met a lady I know uptown, and she said, "Oh, how's Tim going on in his flat? Is he enjoying it?" And I explained what had happened. She said, "Well, my son left for that same reason, because he got a dog, and his dog wouldn't settle, and it chewed the bottom of the door. It was that worried. He couldn't settle either. He had some terrible experiences." So that's all I can tell you, my darling.
Could it have not been anything else at all, or was it definitely like what you experienced with the going through?
I'll tell you one more thing. When Tim got another place to live, he'd been here 6 months, and his dad and the chap removal van were going away, and we got the car outside, and I said, "Right." So I knocked on the door, and I said, "Right, you buggers." Those are my words. "Right, you buggers, you've got what you want, you've driven him out." And I gave a big knock, and I got a big knock back. We shut out that door, locked it up, and we got in the car and went.
Now, what a case we've just had at the Ivies. Now, you see, I don't know whether that is a ghost or if it's not a ghost, but we are going to go find out. We're going to go see our skeptic very, very soon. But what I need to do is I need to tell you about something. We got in contact with some more people who lived in the Ivies before Tim, and one man has sent us a video of his experiences. Now, let's go see what his case is and see if it can be solved. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Steve Adams, and I'd like to share with you strange goings on when I lived at 7 The Ivies, which is a basement flat in Church Street, Ashbourne. I lived there in the late 90s, and I'd only been there a few days where strange things were happening. Things weren't in the place that I left them, either when I went out, I come back. For instance, a book would not be where I left it. Could have been another room. Either way, things were moving. Too many to mention. I never saw anything move. I never felt anything touch me, but I was aware that things were not in the places that I left them. I will speak about 3 specific things that happened. One wasn't to me, but I had friends staying with me, a married couple who I gave my double bed to, and I took the spare room in the back of the flat. Dawn, the wife of the couple staying, was woken up in the middle of the night by the feeling of someone shaking her, holding on to both shoulders and shaking her. She opened her eyes. There was no one there, but the feeling of the hands on the shoulder and the shaking was still going on. How do you explain that? I don't know. She couldn't explain it, but she felt that. Second occasion I'll mention is my sons came out to stay with me and brought with them their golf clubs, which we put in the back room along with mine, and they stayed there for the duration of their stay. My brother came to see us one day when they were there. We got talking about these things happening in the flat, and my brother Jim said, rubbish, all rubbish. Immediately he said that, there was a crash in the back room. We went through. 3 sets of golf clubs were tipped over on the side. Not only were they tipped over on the side, but some of the clubs were over the other side of the room. Again, how do you explain that? But the final thing, and the most strange of all, is on the day I was leaving the flat for the last time, my brother-in-law came down to move curtain fittings for me in the lounge. I was finishing off cleaning the flat, mopping the kitchen floor. Roy called me to say he was going. I walked through the kitchen into the lounge, saw him out the front door. Everything was as he left it. I walked back into the kitchen to get the mop and the bucket to take out of my car. And when I came back into the lounge, it was as if someone had thrown a whole bucket of slime over the wall above the fireplace. I just stood there staring at it for a few seconds, and then I touched it, and it was very sticky. It was almost a light green colour, very sticky. I phoned the landlord, Vic Sellers, at the time, told him about this, and he said, don't worry about it. My friends were coming back that weekend, Dawn and Tony, and Dawn is into this sort of stuff. especially after what happened to her. When she came up, I still had the keys. I asked Vic if I could hold on to them for the weekend, as I got friends coming up, and she would want to take pictures of this slime. She did so. She took 5 or 6 pictures. It was one of the old-fashioned cameras where you put the film into the chemist to be developed. She'd taken pictures before coming to Ashbourne. She took the pictures of the wall. She took pictures afterwards in and around Ashbourne. When she took the filming to be developed, every picture was developed as you would expect it to, apart from the 5 or 6 pictures of the slime wall. They just come out completely black. Again, no explanation. I'm aware a lot of people will be laughing at this, doubting it. All I can say is, I saw this, I experienced this. And after putting a post on Facebook, I found out that a lot of other people who lived in the same flat as me went through similar experiences. Unless you've gone through it, you can never begin to understand.
I'm now with the skeptic, so do you believe in ghosts?
No. I love all things paranormal, all spooky stories, old houses, but I just think there's not enough proof yet for me to be able to say, yes, I believe in ghosts.
So with the case with Janet, obviously there was things moving around at her son's house and stuff. So how would you explain all that?
I think probably just possibly like memory lapses. So, you know, it happens a lot. You walk into a room, you don't know why you've gone in there. Maybe you put your book down and then you think you've left it there, but actually, did you leave it in the different room? Like, you just don't remember where you left it.
So, and also there's other things that's happened. There's lots that's happened in this house. So something that has been playing on my mind a little bit, and I want to know this is why I'm excited about the skepticing, because I want to know what is it with the whole thing with the ghost touching, Bernard's leg and going through her. That's like really creepy.
I think the power of suggestion is a really big thing. So if you think something might happen, do you feel something happen? Your brain is a very, it's better than any computer you can get. So is it your brain saying, oh, you want something to happen, so you're going to feel something happen, but it's not necessarily paranormal.
And then there's also Steve Adams, who told us about the same similar thing about things moving. But there's something that I don't understand. That's the slime on the wall, and then getting the pictures developed and it being all black. That's how does that?
I mean, you could put it down to maybe like an electrical fault within the building, which is messing with the camera, possibly, and the slime on the wall. The old buildings. So could it just be a natural occurrence of something that's under a layer of paint that's eventually sort of like creeped its way out almost?
And I want to go back to the back to Janet's case where the sensitive person, like they said there's names and stuff, but with the sensitive, how can you explain sensitives, like, and all those people, if there's no ghosts, how would you explain the sensitives and the mediums and all that sort of lot?
I think you only have their word for it. There's no proof. They can't prove to you that they're experiencing what they're experiencing. It's easy to look up the names of people who lived in buildings because it was done. You looked up the names Mary and Elizabeth. So she could have done the same.
On a cold morning heading to Mind, we're going to go and see if there's a ghost story near, because there is a ghost story with a woman who works in here and the old manager, Tim Baker. Let's go in and see what the story is and if it can be solved. I'm now with the current manager at Mind, Joe. Do you believe in ghosts?
Possibly. Not sure.
Have you ever experienced anything?
In here or in general?
Well, in here and in general.
Yeah. Can't say I've seen anybody, but things do fall off occasionally for no explanation, or things fall over.
Is there anything in specific that's happened in the shop that you can't get off your mind or anything?
That may be a bit in depth. We have had things fall off the shelves on the shop floor, which is that's strange. But no, nothing that I'd say frightened me or played on my mind. Strangely, with you coming to do this today, I was walking through that door over there last night and the toy just fell off the shelf. I was walking out the shop for no reason whatsoever.
So I'm now with Tim Baker. He used to be the manager of Mind. So what did you experience in the shop?
Well, when I worked here, I managed mine between 2009 and 2012. And lots of odd things happened when I was here. Things would be thrown with force. I remember one day I was in here in this stock room. We'd just done a pull off. It was first thing in the morning. I got a volunteer on the shop floor, and a handbag was literally thrown with force from one end of the shop to the other. The volunteer in question, who happened to be my mum, said, "You know, you bad-tempered bugger, what are you throwing that up the shop for?" And I hadn't. I was in here, sat at the computer, putting the gift aid on. And then also we had some volunteers sat in this very room, and they were doing we used to have donation bags. We used to have to put stickers on them. And I got a couple of volunteer ladies doing some stickering some bags up. And a makeup brush literally came from behind here and hit one of the volunteers on the chest. And there was only those two volunteers in here. I was on the shop floor on the till, actually. And this sort of carried on for a long while. We'd find things on the shop floor, and as Joe just said to you, things would fall off mysteriously. And then one particular day I was on my own in here. I got no volunteers with me, so you have to do everything when you've got no volunteers. So I was also trying to steam and be on the till at the same time. And a lady came in to me and she said, "Do you have any kind of problems here with spirits?" And I said, "Well," so I didn't give anything away. I just said, "Why are you asking?" And she, "Well, I'm picking up on a lady that haunts this property, but I don't think it's from this current shop. It's from a shop before. I'm getting a B initial, and I'm getting that she passed away through some sort of pain in her chest." And this was interesting. It interested me. And months later, I just happened to speak to a lady I know that worked here when it used to be Woolworths. And I told her what I've just said to you. And she put her hand on her mouth. I can't believe you just said that. That would have been a lady that worked here who was called Barbara. And she died of breast cancer. And that kind of solidified to me that maybe Barbara still pleasantly haunts this building. I never felt afraid or upset by what I experience here. Although when I was on my own at night, putting the figures on the computer and cashing the till, I used to always kind of like look over my shoulder a little bit.
Bloody hell.
Bloody hell.
We just got back from editing at the Mind case, the poltergeist. Now, there's something I need to tell you about this case, you see. That was quite a lot to take in for me, and even probably for the skeptic, but we're going down there to see if anything of it can be explained. Now, I need to be honest with you, that one really spooked me out. That one spooked me out quite a bit. And the reason we've got Tim in it a lot is because he does ghost walks in Ashbourne, and he does ghost walks for people, and he knows most of the ghost stories, you see. This is how we've got so many cases today. That's why he's a big part of this. Now, one thing I do need to say as well, just to let you guys know this, we are going to see the skeptic very soon. Now, the skeptic is going to be telling us about this case today, and she's also going to be telling us about how things are and how things can be explained. Now we're walking down an alleyway to go see her, and it's very spooky. Now I'll be honest with you, the case we've just had is very, very big. With things moving, you see, poltergeists are very rare. Poltergeists aren't really like big things, but there is a lot of poltergeists in Ashbourne, and there's a lot of poltergeists all over the world that we don't know about. But we're going to go see the skeptic now. We're going to walk to see a skeptic, and we're going to see if she can explain anything. And if not, it's probably a ghost. Let's go see her. This is a similar case to last time because there's things being moved around and sort of falling off shelves, but throwing things is quite strange. So what would you say to the throwing things bit?
Well, I mean, it could just be someone has thrown it, but they're just keeping the joke going, like pretending that, oh no, it was a ghost. It wasn't me who threw it,
Yeah.
potentially.
So this is a bit like poltergeist activity, and because things are falling off shelves and moving around and being thrown and all that. Well, what would you explain about the poltergeist activities and stuff like that?
Well, the street that the shop's on has a lot of trucks and things going down it, so there's a lot of vibrations, so things aren't quite on the shelf properly, then it's quite easy for things to get moved off over over time.
We're now in the car. We are heading over to see a woman called Mary Smale, who is really, really big on ghosts. She's experienced them, she's seen them, she's everything about ghosts, and she's got so many ghost stories in Ashbourne. So let's go and see her now. Do you believe in ghosts?
Definitely. Well, whatever you define as a ghost, I mean, from when I was very young, I was aware of things that other people couldn't see and hear. Many small children are, and then as people grow up, they learn to ignore it. For me, it was particularly strong. For many years, I just pushed it to the back, and then I started learning to dowse, and I realised that using dowsing tools like the ones I've got here, I can get in a frame of mind where I can directly contact the spirit world. And I do quite a bit of work helping people who've got things like poltergeists or things that are happening in their building that they can't understand, or buildings that people find quite unpleasant to be in for various reasons, and I can find out what the reason is and then I can sort it out.
Have you ever experienced a ghost yourself?
Oh yes, many times. In fact, last week I was in the downstairs and about 7 in the morning, and I saw a figure of a man pass by the window, and I thought, oh, that's strange, so early in the morning. So I came out the door and there was nobody there, and I've got security lights in the entry that click on very, very readily if anything moves, and the security lights didn't come on. So obviously I'd seen somebody who was not in the material world.
Mary, in your lovely home here in Church Street, can you tell us about the ghosts that allegedly haunt here?
Well, when I first moved in, it was much more haunted than it is now. But I've sent some of the spirits on because they didn't really know how to get onto their next adventure in whatever they're going on to next. So the architect that designed the house was in one of the upstairs bedrooms, and he's moved. And there was a gentleman in the downstairs kitchen, and he used to stand in the corner a lot, and we dowsed and found that he'd actually died in the building, and now he's moved. But I've still got 2 ghostly cats. One's a black and white cat that I see running across the kitchen, and last week I saw a grey fluffy cat jump down off the top of the banister upstairs and run across the kitchen too. So ghosts aren't only people, they're also animals. And often down by where the railway sidings used to be, where the swimming pool is now, I see a group of long-haul cattle just trotting along. And there used to be a tan yard down there, so I don't know whether they were connected with the tan yard or whether they were being loaded onto a train or what's going on there. But they're still around.
Would you like to demonstrate your dowsing rods in the South Wales?
Oh yes, I would. Now, Ashbourne's a very unusual place in that it's got lots of ley lines, and there's a very interesting book called The Ashbourne Circle that you can get from the library and look at just how lively it is. In fact, there's more going on here than in Glastonbury, and I use dowsing tools like these to look where the energy lines are. The energy lines tend to be places that you get an increase in spiritual activity or movement of unseen energies. And I can dowse for where the energies are and what kind of energy lines there are. And there are 3 quite large ley lines that cross through this house here. And using a dowsing rod, which is usually what I use for outside dowsing, I can ask for it to show me if there's a ley line here, and this is the yes. So there's a huge ley line about 11 feet wide at the moment, because we're near that time of the year where that kind of energy is quite strong. And we've had a lot of rain. So when you get rain, the ley lines tend to get larger and more strong. Now I can also use a pendulum. Mainly I work with pendulums because a lot of my dowsing work is done remotely. Quite a lot of it either by taking verbal instructions from clients or by working off a map. To do dowsing, you don't actually have to be on site. You can do it using a plan or a map. And so with the pendulum, I get a yes or a no. So if I say, show me no, that's my no. Show me yes, that's my yes. So I'll say, is there a ley line where we are right now? And that's a strong yes. So I say, how many ley lines cross through this house? 1, 2, 3. Right, so there's 3 in this house. How many ley lines are there in Ashbourne that connected with Church Street or the church? So going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that more than 6? Yes. Is it 7? Yes. Less than 7? No. So there's 7 ley lines connected with Church Street, which means that Church Street is very active spiritually, and most of the houses down Church Street do have some kind of activity.
Right, Mary Smale's case was just finished. Now, I'll be honest with you, it's not the only case we've got Mary Smale in, because the next case we've got her in. But I'll leave you that, I won't tell you any more to spoil it. Now, we're going to go off to see our skeptic now about Mary Smale's case, and to see if maybe it can be explained. But that is the biggest case we've done, and it's the biggest case we've got. Let's hope and pray we can explain it, but if we can't, then I don't know. But I'm not a believer or a skeptic. I'm in the middle, so I don't know yet. But this documentary is going to make me believe, or maybe be a skeptic. I don't know yet, but we'll find out. Let's do this, and let's go see our skeptic. So this is a big case because there's a lot going on here. So how would you explain the man who walked past and there's no sensor?
Possibly just a trick of the light, maybe something just caught the corner of her eye and her brain told her that's what it was.
And with the cats jumping from the banister of the stairs and stuff, how do you explain that one? Because I can't even think of a way to explain that.
I mean, it's very strange, but could a cat just come in a house? Cats have came in my house before, and maybe she just believed what she wanted to with that.
Will you come play with me? Please. I don't want to be alone. We can play.
We've had special permission to come in the Avanti Jeweller's basement, and Mary's going to tell us her experiences here. So what were your experiences in the basement here?
Well, this used to be the corner house electricians, and the staff told me that they found this basement particularly uncomfortable and unpleasant. And when I came down here, there was a particularly unpleasant entity who really didn't want to leave. So I had to do what's classically known as an exorcism to get them to go. So I'm not going to go into detail because I don't want people to start playing with this. As they say on the telly, don't do this at home. It's really unadvisable for people without experience and training to start trying to communicate with the spirit world, because you can get into some really dangerous and unpleasant situations if you don't have the training and experience to deal with what presents itself to you. And you do have to know how to contain things. And it's not enough to just move spirits on to somewhere else. You've got to send them on to the right place, otherwise you're just passing the problem on to somebody else.
So what did the corner house staff actually experience?
They heard footsteps on the stairs, but then when they looked, they couldn't see anybody, and they had a really uncomfortable feeling of being watched and feeling very uncomfortable down here. Nobody wanted to stay a second longer than strictly necessary. So I thought it was a good idea to sort that one out before a new business moved in. But there still is a spirit here, is an old fella called Walter, and he drifts around the shop floor upstairs, and he's quite happy to be here and not going to harm anybody.
I'm now with Alan, who is the owner of Avanti, and he's going to tell us a strange story about this cat. So what is the story?
Well, when we took the shop over, we knew that there'd been a fire many years ago, maybe 60, 80 years ago. And it was quite a severe fire, but somehow they managed to save it in the day. There was beams on the top floor that were all scorched. But one of the guys that was here before said to me, this cat, this toy cat, survived the fire, and apparently they weren't sure that it should have done because of, it was quite severe. So look after it, which we've always done. So we keep him in the shop, or her, we're not sure what it is. We keep it in the shop and we just let it relax there, just to make sure that we don't take any chances. But I suppose I never think too often about it, but I suppose if I actually look at it now, I'm actually quite close to it because it's part of the property.
Who's asleep amidst the trees?
I'm bloody terrified I am. We're going to go and see our skeptic right now. Now, what could it be with Alan? Because I'll tell you one thing. We did the case with Alan today in Avanti, and one thing I can't understand is that we didn't see any smoke. But when we were editing, because we've just been editing, when we was editing, right, and he said, and when he said the word fire, we saw smoke come out of nowhere, and no one was vaping or smoking in the basement because you're not allowed to smoke inside. So we have no clue where it came from. We didn't see any smoke then when we were doing it. We didn't see any smoke while we were filming. So we have no clue. You know what? Let's go see the skeptic now and see if the case can be solved. Follow me. That case freaked me out because of what we saw in Alan's, but we'll get to that in a minute. What I did want to ask is, with the footsteps, how do you explain the footsteps?
I mean, are there other basements along that road? What could have been like an echo that they were hearing from other basements around it, possibly?
Now, I've got to ask because it's really messing with my mind. How do you explain the smoke that we see literally on the word fire?
I mean, could there have been someone vaping or smoking down there? People sometimes take a quick cheeky vape, don't they, when they don't think anyone else is looking? Possibly dust particles, maybe like condensation if it was quite cold down there.
Yeah.
Lots of people, body heat, maybe.
Now going over to Fresh Choice. You see, this is the scariest case we're dealing with because it's just, there's a load of ghosts in here. It's the basement that's the most haunted. So let's go in and see what the case is and see if it can be solved. I'm now in the basement of Fresh Choice that used to house Napoleonic prisoners, and a man is seen carving bones in this corner. I'm now with Brian. So do you believe in ghosts?
Well, I've witnessed when I've been downstairs working in the morning, and I've been on my own, and the door's been locked. I've witnessed something coming past me, and there's no one else been in the shop at all. So you can actually feel someone walking past you from the back. From the back.
Can you tell us about these hooks here?
Yeah, these hooks used to be where they used to hang the prisoners, like in the chains and stuff like that. So they're hanging there. Obviously, this used to be the floor where they used to put the live prisoners on top as well.
Do any of your staff experience anything funny here?
Yeah, my sister's also experienced. Obviously, she thought I was downstairs and shouting, and nobody was here at all. So she actually heard a voice downstairs as well.
So you're going to be in a few cases with us today, like you have been in the Mind one. But what I wanted to ask is, you used to work in First Choice and you experienced a few things yourself. So can you go through with us what you experienced?
Sure, like Brian, I used to work here years ago, back in the late 90s when it was Smilers. And one of my jobs in the morning was to come early and to bring in the fruit and veg delivery and put it away down in here. And oftentimes I used to hear like a shuffling noise, like it wasn't footsteps, it was like somebody shuffling along the floor. And I do know that when I worked here, nobody would come down in the cellar on their own. We'd always have to come down in pairs to get the fruit and veg to take it up to replenish the stock. It was quite a scary experience, and it's somewhere I wouldn't like to be on my own.
If you had the choice to just sit here on your own, would you?
Absolutely not. Being in this room, it's the first time I've stood in this room since 1997, and it still, even now, creeps me out after all these years.
What a case at Fresh Choice we've just had. Now, the story was brilliant, but I did some research to see if there's anything else I could add, and there was something I could add. You see, back ages ago, when it used to be a prison, a man who was also in the prison collected wooden bones and stuff, and he'd carve like little animals and stuff, and he used to give them to women and children and all that. And people quite liked him in Ashbourne, to be honest. And you see, when he died, after he died, in that cellar, they didn't know if there was anybody there. They didn't know because they felt a presence, you see. And what happened was one day someone saw a man carving in the corner of the room where he used to sit, and we believe that that is the same person that was doing the carving. Now, there's an energy in there when you're in there as well. But when we were filming, I felt that there's an energy, there's a presence with us, you see. And but I don't know really because I could have just been tired, but I'm not too sure. We're going to go see the skeptic now. I'm going to go ask her if if this can be explained and see if she knows anything. So let's go see the skeptic now and see if it can be explained. Let's go. Bloody hell, what an experience. So with the shuffling of the feet and that, how do you explain that?
I mean, I think cellars are pretty spooky anyway. Like from a young age, we're taught or we're shown that going down into a cellar is going to be creepy, is going to be spooky. So it could just be a trick of the mind, like you're thinking you're gonna experience something or you might experience something. So any noise from from upstairs or from out on the street you could just determine that to be something it's not.
Now, what about with the because what Brian said, he feels like there's someone walking behind him or behind him and stuff. So how do you explain that?
Again, a similar sort of explanation. When you go down into a cellar, you think it's going to be spooky. So just a mere, you know, draft or anything, you could interpret that different to what it was.
This case is linked to the one that we did earlier, the bridge. Now, this is with a woman called Sam Houston in the town hall, and that's where I'm walking up to now. Let's go see her case, and then after see if it can be solved by the skeptic. Let's go. I'm now with Sam Houston, who works in the town hall. So, do you believe in ghosts?
I need to be a little bit more convinced, I think. I want to, but yes, I possibly do.
Have you ever experienced anything?
I've had 3 experiences, all in the same part of the town. So from Compton up towards Dig Street. Those are the only 3 experiences I've had, and 2 of them were residual, sort of a playback, and 1 was footsteps. So,
What did you experience?
okay, the very first one I ever experienced, I'll go through it very quickly because it wasn't where Domino's is now and the Bengal. It used to be called the Ashbournian. So at the front was a cafe where Domino's are. Behind it, no, at the front was a sweet shop. Behind it was a cafe, and upstairs was a steak bar, all run by the same person. And I used to be the Saturday girl there. And one Saturday, I had to open it up myself. First time ever. The lady that opened up had got an appointment. She gave me the keys. Opened it up, started switching everything on as you have to, obviously early in the morning, all the fryers, all the ovens, etc. And somebody walked the length of upstairs. I was the only person in there. I left everything on, ran out, locked the door, sat on the step and waited for somebody to come. I was terrified, as you would be. They were very heavy steps. It wasn't just a little tiptoe across it with bang, 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 bang.
Mm.
Nobody else in the building. The second experience I had was a few years later when I was about 18, 19. I used to work at a place called Carey's Wine Bar. I think you know it as the Bridge now. Yep. And my best friend, I worked behind the bar, extra money on top of my job. And my best friend was the cook upstairs. And on a Saturday night, we used to go to, you know where the Elite Centre is? It used to be called Cassandra's, or Vegas as we called it. It was a nightclub, and we were desperate to get out of work and go to Vegas to meet our boyfriends. So I went upstairs after the bar to help clean the kitchen. Now, it was a bit of an autumnal day, but all the windows are flung open. It's a tiny kitchen at the Bridge. And all the cooking went on up there, so it's tiny. All the windows are flung open. And I'm chops, chops, chops to my friend. And then all of a sudden I said, where's them kids' voices coming from? And she says, what? I said, can you hear children? This shouldn't be out at this time of night. So we went to the window and we got this waft of damp soil. I don't know how other to explain it. You know, I don't know. I can't. It's like damp soil. And we could hear kids' voices playing, but we couldn't see a thing. She could hear it, I could hear it, and we could smell almost like an earthy smell. So I don't know how to explain that, but we both heard it, and more than once. Okay. The third one was at the wheel, which is still there now. So at the back of the wheel, my bedroom used to overlook the courtyard outside. I woke up one night and I could hear barrels, what I thought was barrels rolling. Oh my God, I've overslept for the delivery. And I opened my curtains because I remember the bedroom. I was a bit of a goth at that time. It was all dressed in black and in black curtains. So I thought, oh God, it's black as night outside. It's the middle of the night. So I didn't say. I just thought, oh, I'll go back to sleep. And this happened quite a few times. Just talking to a man one day on a Thursday afternoon. I got a day off from work and I was working behind the bar for my dad. And he says, "Oh, I used to lodge here in the 40s and the 50s, you know. And did you know such and such the previous landlord?" No, I didn't know him. I said, "Oh," he said, "I used to lodge in the bedroom that overlooked the courtyard." I said, "Oh, that's my bedroom now." He says, "Do you ever hear anything?" And I said, "Pardon?" He said, "Do you ever hear?" He says, "A rolling sound." I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, we think it used to be like a Skittles yard, and it was just replaying it over and over again." Still didn't say anything to my mum and dad. Now, earlier on this year, talking to my mum one day, and she went to me, "Samantha, I've got to ask you a question." She says, "I once got up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet because her bedroom was overlooking Compton, whereas mine's overlooking that. I need to ask you a question," she says, and she's like a real black and white person. She says, "Did you ever hear anything in the yard?" And I went, "Yeah." So she'd heard it as well. So that's all I can tell you. I don't know whether it was just a residual sound of the Skittles or maybe the barrels coming in from I don't know, but it was in the middle of the night.
How did you feel during these experiences?
Terrified with the one that walked over. I literally just picked everything up. I left the fryers on, I left everything on, and just sat on the step outside waiting for the next people to come in. I was terrified. The other two, I didn't feel scared at all. No, the children, I don't know. The Skittles was just more of I was a teenager and it was waking me up in the middle of the night, so I was probably a little bit more aggrieved more than scared. But yeah, the footsteps terrified me. They were too scary.
Yeah. We actually did a case at the start, and it was with the pauper children at the Bridge. So do you reckon that is what you heard?
Yes, we do. I mean, it wasn't until a while after I sat down with Sal and we talked about it in depth. And obviously, we knew that it used to be the workhouse yard, and we sort of, I don't know whether we put two and two together and made five, but that was what we came to. Never spoke to her about it since, and until recently I've heard about it. So it wasn't something I was aware of that happened. We just put two and two together, realising that it was workhouse yard, and that's possibly what it was. Yes.
I'm with the cameraman now, and he's literally just had an experience. Go on, say.
Well, we were just filming Sam and talking about the pauper children at Carers, and we're in a room inside the town hall, no drafts at all, and I've literally felt somebody blow on the back of my head, and it only lasted for a few seconds, and I've not felt it since.
Bloody hell.
Bloody hell.
Sam Howson's case just finished editing, and we're going over now to see the skeptic Melissa King. Now, this case is really weird. It made my head go over the place. We've not had a case yet with three ghosts, and I can't believe she didn't feel scared on two of them, only one, which was, but I suppose she was a teenager and she was quite angry that she had to get up out of bed. She's like, for fuck's sake, I want to get. So yes, but I'll be honest with you, that is real. This is really this is it's good. This case is good, and I'm going to go see the skeptic now. So let's go see the skeptic and see if it can be solved. And if it can't be solved, God knows. Let's go. So this case, well, these cases, shall I say, are quite spooky. How do you explain the footsteps on the stairs?
It could be echoes from other buildings. That time of the morning, there's pubs around, so it could be there. I don't know, bottling up. I don't know what you do in pubs early in the mornings, but I imagine there's lots of things you have to do to get ready for the day, possibly.
With the whole children one, and hearing children and smelling something, how could you explain that?
I mean, just because they couldn't see the children doesn't mean they weren't there. Lots of outbuildings and stuff around that area. It is a town where tourists come, so where children playing while mum and dad were, in one of the other pubs having a late drink.
And then the final one, which is strange as well, with the barrels, which you thought were the barrels, and then it being the Skittles place. How does that? How could you explain that?
I mean, possibly trucks going past late at night. I'm not sure what else it could be, but maybe just dreams. Because you can dream. Yeah.
For our next case, I'm going to interview my very good friend, Tim Baker. Now, he's got very big experiences with ghosts, and he actually works in one of the most haunted places in Ashbourne, which is the Ashbourne Historical Centre at the Town Hall. So I'm now going there to see what the story is and see if we can solve that case. Follow me. Do you believe in ghosts?
I haven't always believed in ghosts, but working at Ashbourne Town Hall, I've experienced things that have certainly changed my mind.
What did you experience?
I was working in the historical centre one day. I was totally alone, there was nobody in, and I thought I saw out the corner of my eye somebody go up the upper staircase to the ballroom. Of course, no one's allowed up there when there's no events on, so I quickly got out of my chair and tried to pursue whoever it was to ask them to come back down. When I got to the staircase, there was nobody there. I went up to the staircase. They couldn't have reached the top by the time I'd got to where I was, and there was still nobody there. I checked around, there was nobody in the building but me, and I definitely saw somebody.
Could it have not been anything else at all?
There was no way it could have been anything else, and it was certainly very solid and very dark, and I saw it cast a shadow on the wall, but there was definitely nobody here.
Is there any other things that you've experienced or anyone else has experienced in the town hall?
This used to be the Talbot Inn years ago, and it was quite a rough pub before the town hall was built in 1861. And there's allegedly the ghost of an innkeeper that haunts this place, and he certainly doesn't like ladies, we know that for a fact. There's also the disembodied footsteps that people hear walking across the ballroom. They stop halfway and then just disappear into the ether, and they don't carry on walking to the other side. Also, a few years ago, we used to rent the town hall out for a craft fair, and a lady who used to do that was in the back kitchen one day, and she was on her own making a cup of tea, and out of nowhere, a spoon was thrown from one side of the kitchen. It hit her on the shoulder. She looked around, checked in the corridor. There was nobody there at all. Certainly that incident scared her. She would never go in the kitchen alone ever again.
Sean Clayton, former councillor. At one point when we were in the chamber, we thought we'd heard some noise, and behind the chamber there's actually a toilet. And in that toilet, which I believe is part of the old public house that was here, there is a trapdoor underneath. And I said, I'd never seen that, I'd never seen the cellar there. So we opened the door, had a look inside, and there's a very fine white mould all the way across the floor. And in there was 5 footsteps. Just imprinted footprints on the floor. Going nowhere, just on the floor. I shut the door, put the carpet back over it, and said I'd never go there again.
Oh wow, what a case we've just had. Now, could there be a ghost in that room? And could there be a ghost inside of the town hall? We're now going to see skeptic Melissa King to see if this could be explained. Let's go. These cases, I'm gonna have to bloody... Right, so, with the Talbot Inn and everything like that, what do you think of the man in there who doesn't like women?
Well, if there is a man in there who doesn't like women, obviously, then, back in olden times, I suppose, women weren't seen in the same light as men were. So, a lot of men probably didn't like women, especially strong women.
Yeah. And with the figure going up the stairs in the museum bit, how do you explain that?
I mean, could it have just been like Tim seeing something out of the corner of his eye?
Like an eyelash.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed Tim wears glasses, so could he have just seen, the side of his glasses, possibly,
Yeah.
and thought it was something else?
Now, something that I'm going to have to ask, because this is something that I've been thinking about ever since we've done this case, is when the spoon got thrown at that woman, how can that be explained?
Well, I mean, was there somebody who threw the spoon, thought it would be quite funny, and ran off quickly, possibly? A child coming in and think, oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm now walking up to the Owlery. There's a big case here, so book yourself in, because it's time to see what the case is. Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes, I do now.
What have you experienced?
One night I was walking down the green road where we stood, and I noticed a figure coming down from the Owlery wearing a black coat, and he got into the middle of the road, and out of nowhere he vanished.
What a case we've just had at the Owlery with someone who we can't say the name of. He prefers to remain anonymous, but we will be honest with you here, and I'm going to have to be honest with you. That case was like, I don't even know. The reason I was out of it is because we couldn't get 2 people's faces in because it wouldn't have worked. But I am quite spooked out after that. I can't say I'm not, because I am. I'm really spooked out after the case we've just had, and I do feel like it's a ghost. I mean, just imagine what you do if you're walking down somewhere dark, somewhere you're familiar with as well, and basically you saw a man disappear in the road. I mean, what would you do in that situation? You wouldn't do anything. But yeah, we're gonna go see our skeptic and see if we can get answers. Let's go. That one's weird because it's the first sort of case we've had where someone disappears, and it is on the last case as well. So how do you explain that?
Well, I actually live near to there, and on many rainy, dark nights, I've seen lots of shadows, which I think could have been something, but then on closer inspection, I've realised are trees or pillars. I also know of the people who live in the houses up that lane, and many a time I see them in like trench coats, big hoods.
Yeah.
So yeah, so maybe that's what they saw.
Bloody hell, try sleep after that. What brilliant cases we've had today. I mean, I never knew Ashbourne was as haunted, so it baffles me. Since we've done the cases and editing and all that, I've been scared to walk around. But remember, with the ghosts of Ashbourne, the past is not dead. And also remember this, and this is what I'm going to tell you. Don't be too scared, because it's not the dead that hurt you. It's the living.
Among the ruins, whispers weave, specters dancing, daring you to believe. A flicker of candlelight, a creaking floor, legends lingering, calling from yore. Through the silence, hear the tale told. In every shadow, mysteries unfold as the night descends with secrets to share. Do you have the courage for the truth laid bare? Are you a believer or a skeptic? Can you hear the stories, feel them hectic? The echoes of the past in every sound, with Ashbourne's ghost, what truth can be found? Graveyard stories rest in peace, but the ghosts of Ashbourne will never cease. They linger in timber, they whisper your name in the void of the night. They play their game. Are you a believer or a skeptic? Fear the unknown, feel the aesthetic in the realms of shadows where the fervents tread. With Ashbourne's whispers, the past is not dead. So